Zyaire, Brownlee, Jeff Cancelosi, and Shekenia Mann. So we're just gonna do they deserve it, so thank you. So we're just gonna do like a little roundtable talk. I have a few questions I want to ask all of you guys, and then if you guys have any questions for each other, feel free to ask. And then at the end, we'll open things up for discussion for you guys. So are we ready?
Let's do it.
Yes. Okay. How do we want to start? You want to start like this way, or just chime in whenever you want to answer? But
chime in.
okay.
That's cool.
Okay. So my first question is when did you first become aware that you had a special affinity for art, and how did your work evolve from when you first started out?
That's a good question. How long does this talk?
Okay, I'll go first. When I realized I had an affinity for art, it was after I graduated high school. I had already started as a photographer, and I originally wanted to shoot for GQ magazine. And after I got out of school, I was like, man, I'm about to go to college. How am I going to get there? And I started going to Macomb, and something just didn't feel right. And someone told me I should apply at CCS, and I was like, CCS? I was like, you think I'm good enough for CCS?
You feel like that's CCS money?
Exactly. And then, I don't know, just something I fell in love with the idea, and then I looked at the requirements, and I was like, I might as well just shoot my shot. So I went for it, and I got in, and literally the first year was crazy. I learned a lot of stuff about myself, but then that's when I realized that I really wanted to pursue a career as an artist, and I know I want to use photography as my voice. So I stayed dedicated. It was challenging, of course, but you know, pressure made diamonds.
Okay, I can go next. I can go. I was working as a high schooler and I needed some extra money, so I started selling Snapchat filters. So, and I started doing it on Canva, and then I was like, oh, okay, there's Photoshop. So then I became a graphic designer because I knew filters wasn't selling on college campuses, flyers were. So I started doing flyers, and I was like, oh, to make more money, let me take pictures and do the graphics. And then I really got into photography, and I was like, oh, this is fun. This is actually like, oh, I'm an artist. Like, I'm actually good at it. People were like, wow, you took this? And I was like, y'all think it's good? Like, wow. So then from there, I really got into it and started looking into it, and I really, really love it. But I'm looking more at like a creative direction. Since I know how to do it all, I really want to be over it all. So like, I like just, since I can't draw, I can just make my ideas turn into a picture. So I think that's the best part of it. And I think that's when I'm like, art is fun.
You're like, I got a little
Yeah, I think I did something.
So mine happened when I was my brother's assistant, and then he put a camera in my hand. He goes, I want you to shoot. Let's see what you have. Let's try it out. So what I ended up doing is he gave me some black and white film and told me to go out and shoot. Then next week we met up, and we lived together with my mom. He goes, well, tomorrow let's go in the basement. I have the dark room set up. So we went in the dark room about 9 o'clock. I was in the dark room. I lost track of time. We didn't get out until about 4 or 5. And it felt like 5 minutes to me. And that's when I knew I fell in love.
And you were young too, weren't you?
Yes.
Like 18?
I was about 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been making art all of my life. There's not I've been drawing, I've been doing whatever I could build. And plus my mom was an artist, my aunt was a fabric designer, my other aunt was a gallerist in Atlanta. I had no choice in the matter. My dad was a musician, so I really had no choice in the matter. Don't even think about when you become a business person. No, as you can tell, I'm doing so well.
Yeah, you photograph everybody for free.
That's right. And I enjoy it.
That's what matters. My next question for my little portrait people is, how do you know that you've captured a good portrait, and then what is like the significance of portraiture to you? Like, why is that something that you focus on?
me. Portraiture, well, I'll go inside out, but I like portraiture because, like, for me, I like to get to know a person, you know, it's not just about, like, you know, say cheese, you know, I like to go beyond the surface of a person, so, like, if I'm doing a shoot with someone, like, you know, I like to be myself, and I know, you know me, I'm pretty goofy, so in the shoot, I'm especially goofy because, you know, I was trying to unlock that version of you. I want to take a picture of that person, you know, so I want to see you smiling for real, I want to see you laughing. I really want to engage with you, and I feel like being able to capture that in an image, portraiture, and putting that up, that's more interesting than just, you know, the go-to smile, you know, that goes a long way. And what was the beginning of the question?
How do you know that you captured a good portrait?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, you take a billion pictures, and in post, you see which one does not make you cringe the hardest. And then you go from there.
Okay. I think portraits for me, I feel like you say so much with your body and your face. There's so much emotion. There's a whole, like, me sitting here, it's like, oh, girl, what you saying? Like, are you comfortable? Because I could be blocked up. It's like, oh, she does not want to be up here. So I feel like just your body, your face, your arms, you telling, your body language speaks heavily.
Absolutely.
Even like facial expressions, there's so much.
Sometimes
like,
it's more than your voice.
yeah. So you can shut up. Y'all, you don't have to say nothing at all. And I know exactly what you're saying. And so I feel like just from the feet to the head, that's all I need.
Yeah.
Now, the background is like, ooh, okay, but I love getting people's faces, and really, honestly, I just like being up close. It's real. I like to be in your I like to make you uncomfortable. Because then you're going to be comfortable with the uncomfortable, and now we here, and now we making art, and now we having a good time.
Yeah.
How I pick it, I would agree with what he said. But I'll also say, for me, it's kind of like what speaks to the loudest. Like, if I show this to somebody, what's like, oh, okay.
What catches them?
Like, oh, okay, I get what you're saying. Like, I
don't know if I told you, but I bought the black and white one.
No, you didn't tell me that. Wow.
That one coming.
You're welcome. That's my first time. Okay.
Okay, I just got
Although I think she's saying she's gonna buy each one of our prints. Thank you.
Please do.
Very kind of you.
You'll see the stickers on the Respectfully, I love that woman, but that would be a long payment plan.
A bunch of IOUs.
Yes. Or can I give you a hug? Her price is well deserving though, so it's fine. You guys?
Well, so portraiture is an intimate, for me, it's an intimate process. So typically, the portraits that I take typically is in my studio or I go to the person's environment. And then I have to have conversation and get to know the person before I even bring the camera out. Because the camera can be very intimidating to people. Not everyone likes to get their picture taken. But I think the human form, like the face and the eyes, tell so much, and it gives you an intimate glimpse of a person and who they are. So for me, depending on what I'm going for, typically during a session I get several different moods. However, it depends on what I need it for when I'm trying to make my selection.
Yeah.
But I look for that connection, that intimacy that the person gives. You know, I'm fortunate for them to share that intimacy with me of who they are, and I try and capture that. I don't think about it while I'm doing it, but my intention is to capture that.
That's how I felt like when I was making you laugh when I did your blueprint photo. Like I was like, this is the moment. Like this is the one. Like
Yes.
I just knew.
During that,
Yeah.
we had several conversations prior to that, so that entire process, yeah.
So I'm an artist that uses the camera as another way of expressing myself. I draw, I kind of call my practice, it's very much about mark making. It's a bit highfalutin, but it's about, you know, how can I make marks? I've made marks with ink stamps. I've used tape that I've bought in different stores. I mean, I do everything, but I always tend to end up with the human form and the human face. So portraiture, it's funny that this has all been an evolution. A lot of this came out of wanting to just document the Detroit art scene. What I'm known for is going to openings and galleries, people I know, people I don't know, and ask if I can make their photograph. And I'm in a situation where there are many people I've never met before, and you know, I connect, I can see the work, I can interact with that as an artist, there's that part of it. But a lot of times I'm going in cold saying, hi, I'm Jeff Cancelosi, this is what I've been doing this for 10 years. I show what I do. I would love to make a photograph of you because I believe in documenting what is happening with the creatives in Detroit. And so it's all, I love to see art, I love people. And how do I choose? It's interesting. You have to make a decision. But as I grow as an artist, I'll look back on some of the older images I've made, and I'll say, why didn't I choose that one? Because if some of you are artists, you'll know that as you've evolved as an artist, you suddenly realize you can see things in a different light. And I'll look at images and I'll go, wow, why didn't I choose that? Well, I just couldn't see. And sometimes it's about seeing as you evolve.
You just led into my next question so well. Because, so it's all portraiture, and a lot of the portraits that are in these exhibitions is of other Detroiters, primarily Detroit creatives. So my question is like, what is the influence behind doing that? Like, why did you choose some of the people that you photographed? Yes, all of you. I'm like, it's one of you.
Oh, that's why it's
Well, I guess, I don't know.
Yours
mine's
are
different 'cause
self-portraits,
you're me. But no, but even with
But
those,
then, yeah, it's
I
why
was
did you
inspired
choose
by
those?
those. Right. Well, I was inspired to shoot myself, but my inspiration was based on other Detroit artists like Mario Moore. Like, I was really inspired by painters. So like Mario Moore really inspired me. Like, well, more than just Mario Moore. Reggie Singleton inspired me. Singer Reed inspired me. A lot of Detroit artists inspired me to make that shoot upstairs. And when I shot it, originally I didn't want to shoot myself because
Can
I was
you
like,
explain for those that don't know, like what your
Yeah.
series is of?
oh yeah. So They Throw Roses at His Feet is a series that I created just last year. I was asked to be a part of an exhibition at Hatch Gallery called What's Sexy. And originally, I had no idea what I wanted to shoot. Like, I went and I talked to another artist about it, and she told me, you should honor yourself, you know? You should, how often do you shoot yourself and put yourself in the light where you will want to appreciate yourself? And I was like, you're right, but I'm still really, really nervous about doing it.
Yeah.
But then I used it as a challenge, and I'm really an anxious person. So I was kind of like, well, you should just do it. So I came up with the idea, and I thought about how I wanted to picture myself, and then I thought about like kind of my struggle, well, not my struggle, but my journey as an artist, and like where I wanted to end up. So I wanted to think about like romanticizing myself as a person and showing myself appreciation. So also why I'm dressed as a king. My old gallery director, Trina Erickson, she always told me to be a king, like no matter what, like, you know, dealing with people.
Thank you, Trina.
Honestly, because that's my baby.
She's like the mom.
She really is. But she told me when I'm dealing with people who are giving me a hard time, you know, you don't have to feed into that. You're generous and you're a nice person already. You don't have to feed into that. And think about your reputation. So she's like, just be a king. So I really made that a little thing. So I became a king, but it's more so about the symbolism in the piece. Like, yeah, you see the crown on my head, but that's not what makes me a king. That's just, you know, I got the crown, I did it. But the man in the coat, the robe, on the throne, that's the king. That's why, because it took a lot to get there. Exactly. Yeah, the crown is just a symbolism. But the person that you see, that's the one who did it. He didn't inherit the throne. He worked hard for it. He got it. So that's what that's about. Thank you. So yeah, that's what that's about. But like just working at the Spirit Club and meeting all these different artists and thinking about how their work influenced people like me, I want to do the same thing. And plus, like, you know, I'm a black gay man. So I want to, you know, other black gay men who are coming out and want to be artists and see my piece and be like, oh, he can do it, I can do it too. And he can do it however he wants to do it. So that's why I did that. You're welcome.
I think we created the flow. Okay, well, my series is Through Their Eyes, Beauty and Strength. I really believe that there is strength in beauty and beauty in strength. I was raised by two strong women. I know I am 23 and have been through hell and hot water, and I am strong. But I think as Black women, we get tired of being strong. Some days I'll be like, I don't want to be strong. I want to cry. I want to sit in my bed, and I just want to shut up. But I feel like when you do that, it's like, oh, you can't handle it. You can't take it. Like, and I've been through so much where I just was like, oh, okay. I was actually really strong. Like, I really did that. And once I got to that point, I was like, oh, like, that's actually beautiful. I didn't have to do that. Like, I feel like we just know how to be strong. It's like putting on a coat or putting on your shoes. It's just something you know how to do. And I think, like, a lot of people don't showcase that or, like, are like, okay, I'm strong today, but I don't want to do it today. And that's okay. Or even, like, being beautiful. Like, knowing that you the ish and knowing that you look good and knowing that you could do whatever you want, that's a lot of strength. Because a lot of people don't think that they're beautiful. So really to hit those 2 points, and being at this age, I've hit those 2 points, I was like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. I think I just stepped into something that the people don't know. So once I did that, I really looked at like my mom. My mom is an officer, my grandma's an officer. So I was like, oh, like they had to be strong because mentally their job is strong. My dad is a teacher. Mentally that job is strong. So I really was just looking at like, there are so many women that are just strong that don't have to, that mentally go there every day. So as a boxer, like, you strong for real. Like, you really beat people up. I can't go in a boxing ring. I know if somebody put me in there, I can do it, but it's not gonna be right. I'm not training every day. I'm not working on I can't do it, but do I want to? Absolutely not. So that's a whole nother strength. It's also in this series, it'll be a police officer, a firefighter, and a bodybuilder. Those are all things where you have to be physically strong and mentally strong, and you have to do it every day. And that's beautiful. Like, I love that. Also, just to showcase and just to be like, I'm strong. I'm a Black police officer, and I go to work and I do my job. I'm a Black fire. Like, there's more Black women police officers than Black women firefighters, which I didn't know until last week. Because being a firefighter is hard. I didn't know that. I thought you just put the fire out and go home. No, there's so
all day,
much
every
more.
day until you rain down.
So the idea and knowing like, okay, I can be beautiful and that's strong, and I can be strong and that's beautiful. So I just kind of saw a parallel in that and was like, okay. And also like boxer, firefighter, police officers, on Halloween, some of the girls look sexy. Like, people do this for real, and you looking good on one day, and then you gonna go back to your office job. Don't make fun of them, give them their flowers now. So I really was just like, okay, I think this is what I want to do, because I feel like Black women deserve to be strong and beautiful, you know? Because we are. So that's how I feel.
My friends over here, your influences.
So,
reason behind.
my exhibition is up close and personal. So the headliner is my father. He's on the river and he's smoking a pipe. Well, my father, if you know anything about Walley, Mann, he loves the water. He fishes relentlessly. That's his place of peace, and he can feed his family. So one day I'm like, Dad, where are you going? He said, I'm going to the river. I said, where at? So he gives me directions, and I stroll and go toward the Ambassador Bridge, and I find him. And we're just having a conversation like we normally do, but I pull out my camera because I know I'm going to catch him being himself. And in that, being his daughter, and I know him, that connection is automatic for me. Some of the other pieces, I have self-portraits in there, and I also have pieces from Mauritius, which is an island past Madagascar. There's a gentleman who did not even speak the same language as me. And what I do is, like I said, I try to catch those intimate moments, but I ask for permission.
Are those the red ones?
Yes,
Okay.
with the blue hat on. So I hold my camera up. And then, like you said, your body language, people can read you for the most part. I asked him politely with as polite as I could without, with my body language and my camera. He said yes, and I photographed him. But I'm also really conscious of when I photograph, who I photograph, and how I photograph them. It means a lot to me for people to allow me to do that. So I take it seriously, and I want to be respectful at all times. And I just think for someone to share themselves with you is just beautiful. It's just like connecting to God for me.
Amen.
Part of being a photographer in general is making the invisible visible. You think of the great photographers showing nature. Think of Ansel Adams and what he did. People didn't really think of even going out where he was photographing, but he made it so desirable, so visible that it became even part of the American psyche. I started curating at the Northville Art House, and this was over 15 years ago, and I started photographing the artists to say these are the people in the show. But as I kept on doing this, I realized that, first of all, I enjoyed doing it, but it was also important to make the artists in the area visible. So I kept on doing it, and I realized, and I kept on going to places in Detroit, and one thing I realized that a lot of the galleries were showing white artists. And I realized that part of making the invisible visible is going everywhere, being inclusive. So I've been doing this for about 10 years, over 10 years now, and I go everywhere. I mean, if you're an artist, I've probably photographed you.
There's a lot of people in this room right now that you photographed.
And if I haven't photographed you, I'm really sorry. I'll get to you later.
He's got the camera on him today, so.
But the point is that it's about making the invisible visible. And for me, everyone needs to be seen. That's really where I'm coming from.
We thank you for that.
Thank you. But there's no hierarchy other than, are you an artist? Well, may I make you photograph? Because that's what it's all about. I'm not here to photograph the hoi polloi, the great artists I photograph of Detroit. I photograph them too. They tend to be more pains in the asses, by the way. I'm going to say that right now. But in general, my wife literally hit me upside the head just by saying that. But the whole point is to literally just make the invisible visible, and so I go everywhere, and that's the reason why I do what I do, and I love doing it. Did I answer that question?
Absolutely, you did. Absolutely. So I wanted to ask you guys, like, how would you define the most rewarding and most challenging part of the artistic experience?
Say that again.
How would you define the most rewarding and most challenging part of the artistic experience?
Can I go first?
Yes, you can.
So for me, the most rewarding is losing track of time. When I photograph, I can do it, and I've done it for hours, like from sun up to sundown. Point of reference, I was in Sundance, Utah, for this photographic workshop. They had us up at 6, because we had to do sunrise, and we had to do sunset, and then in the evening, we had to prepare for a show. I didn't even have to eat, I didn't need any water, I was working, and I was happy. I mean, like, really, really happy. And then the community, the other artists, were just as happy as I was, and it was just, it's blissful for me. So my process, I'm the photographer who loves, from the moment the phone call to putting the card in my camera, looking at it on Photoshop, editing, I print my own prints for the most part. I use particular paper. I love using cotton rag paper, 100% cotton, acid free, because it makes it so rich. Cotton is from land, it's organic, it's just a beautiful, so I enjoy the entire process. What was the second part of the question?
What's the challenge? That was the reward. What is the challenge?
The challenge is if I didn't think I got what I wanted to get, and or if I'm printing, something goes awry and the color is off. But with that, to Jeff's, Jeff made a point about, finding the right image. So I made it a point, because I get excited, I don't edit the same day. I stop that. I give myself 1 or 2 days before I even look at the photos again. And allow myself to process, to get away from it. Yep. And then even, to Jeff's point, like later on in life, I may use something else that I didn't think was so good. Hey, this is phenomenal. Or you take a picture, this person looks totally different now. Maybe something has, health issues or whatever, but you've captured something beautiful for them and their families,
Let me quit.
Like you.
It take 2-3 days.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, they were going to say
Art is magic. One thing that I have to challenge myself is to remember everything we do is magic. And when I say magic, it's about allowing yourself to be open-minded to the possibilities in the whole process of making the photograph, the editing of the photograph, the printing of the photograph, even the framing. And the challenge is to be open to the magic. Because the reward is, well, for me, those 12 photographs upstairs, each of them is a result of magic. I don't pretend to, I am not a photographer. I couldn't give a damn about the technical aspects of making a photograph. I just, well, this looks great, let's do this, and see what happens. I'm pretty good at it. But I really do believe, just as when I draw, I don't have an idea what the hell I'm doing. In the moment, and that's where I go. And that's what I do with my photography too. So the reward is finding images. By the way, those 12 are, remarkable. I have so many that are just average, at least from my perspective. And I'm still pushing myself. So the reward is just these amazing images that I look at and go, wow, I'm very fortunate. But I also have to keep on pushing myself.
Well, I'm gonna start inside out, and I'm gonna start off with the most challenging part. For me is, I'm really an anxious person, so like sometimes digging deep for like a concept for my pictures is kind of like hard for me because I really want to like say something, and like lately I've been going through this like phase of like switching up my artistic voice or like my identity a little bit. So like thinking about like what I want to say and how I want to say it, and just formatting that idea can sometimes be kind of challenging because like I feel like I have like a billion ideas and I don't know how to organize them, and then my anxiety kicks in and like it lights a fire under my ass a little bit. So it's like get to it, get to it. What are you gonna do? But then sometimes but that's just me though, because that's just how I operate. Because once I get it, I got it.
Yeah.
I got it, and then like when
run.
and then I'll run, bro, and I'm like, I'm off. And like, I have it, and then like, I know how I want it to look. I know how I want to edit it. I know how I want the framing to look. Like, those 3 images upstairs, like I knew that picture, like those pictures had to be larger, like they couldn't be small.
Yeah.
And they had to be in those ornate frames, and that was a pain in the ass to look for. So, but putting it all together is the reward. That's one of the rewards, because I feel like photography has been such a blessing for me because it's taken me to like things I've never thought I would see with my talent. And like being here, this opportunity and sharing this room with all of you, talking about my work, that's something I would have never dreamed of doing. You know, it's something that I would have wanted to do. Like, you know, we're helping like little artists, because I went to CCS and I work at a gallery, and then I work next door to CCS, and my professor will bring their students, and then I'll talk to them about their work and how to present, you know, and mentoring them, and that's something I never thought would do either.
Yeah.
So it's a bunch of little rewards that just feel like, damn God, thank you. So, I don't know, yeah, thank you.
Rewards, I'll definitely snatch that one. Definitely stuff I never thought I would be like doing. Like, oh wow, y'all actually like this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, wow. I wouldn't say for
When I
me.
went to high school, I wouldn't think
Yeah,
that
no,
we'd be here
girl.
today.
Did you? You know, I want to be on that.
We did that, so I'm like,
I would say another thing. I think being in your 20s is ghetto. I did know it was not this.
Ghetto.
I did not know it was not a blast like this. I wasn't very sure. I am a perfectionist, so doing art, I think the biggest reward would be like, I can make a mistake and it actually be cool and it be sweet. And it's like, wow, that was not supposed to happen, but I'm not mad about it. I'm actually okay with it and we just gonna go with the flow.
Yeah.
So really getting that and putting it into like my actual life, like, oh, okay, I tripped, but people think it was sweet and I was supposed to do it. So like just taking that and moving with it and really like, I don't know, the community, like being in the arts community, it's cool. It's like, wow, everybody else does this and you get other ideas and you can, yeah, it's really like, wow, it's like a Facebook group. It's like, wow, like, yeah, no, like, it's like comments and likes, like everybody,
to the breakfast
it's
club.
everything, like, and they give you other opportunities and they'll be like, oh, come to this show, we're in this, like, it's so much that just comes with it. Now the challenge, I would say since I'm newer, really trying not to rush my own artist process. Like, I don't wanna, I'll see somebody who's been doing it for 6 years, I'm like, damn, how did they print it like that? But I don't know how to do that yet, and that's okay.
That's all the questions.
I mean, of course, you know I say everything I want, but it's just be like, okay, I can't rush my 5 years, because I'm just on year 2. So really just like really going with the flow of everything is my reward and my challenge. So,
Thank you.
yeah, no problem.
My last question for you guys is, what advice do you have for future creatives or future photographers?
Keep going. Just keep going. Just keep going. Ride the wave. Be like water. Just go with it. For real, because you're going to go through twists and turns. You're going to get stuck. You're going to be like, oh, I figured it out. But everybody's path is unique to them. So just keep going and ask questions. You know.
I'm gonna throw the ball because I want to hear their advice and then I'll say
Mine is to embrace your errors. Embrace your errors. Keep an open mind, but when you embrace your errors and you figure out how you made the mistake and how to rectify it, that's something you have in your toolbox, and you don't have to make that error again. And then you move on, and you move on, and you move on. And you make errors, and you make errors, but you continue to move on, and you continue to improve.
That's a learning process.
Yeah.
Let's say remember your community. Remember where you came from. Remember where they came from. Know each other's histories. Learn from each other's histories. And you'll be such a better person and also a better artist.
I'm like,
okay. I don't know. There's no limit. Like, if I want to go scuba diving tomorrow, I could do that. And I could probably be like top scuba diver, and nobody would know that I did photography. So I think coming from like graphic design to this, and then trying to do everything else, there's no limit. Like, if you do it, if you want to learn it, if you want to apply it, like, I would say just do it like Nike, but I don't want to say that. So I would say there's really
this
no
is not
limit.
marketed.
Yeah, no, that's why I don't want to give them the money. But like, there's no limit. You can really do whatever you want. Like, people will say that when you were a kid, but now that I'm older, like, wow, like, it's
like,
true.
You resort, I feel like when you get older, you end up resorting back to the things that made you happy when you were a child.
Yeah.
And like, feeding into that childhood, like, wonder and like being like, oh, why did I stop doing this, or why didn't I start doing it? I was curious about it, and I stopped,
And
or
now
I never started.
doing it again.
Now
Like,
do it.
I played saxophone to go to school. I'm trying to learn how to do it again. It's like, wow. Yes, even when we was in high school, it's like, wow, we're doing it again. We can do whatever we want. So like, there's really no limit. If you want to do it. And if people hate it, they're either gonna hate it or they're gonna love it. As long as you are okay, that is the only thing that matters. Period. Yeah.
Mic drop. So that concludes my questions, but do you guys have any questions for each other? If not, I will ask questions in the audience. Questions for each other?
I'll do this. I'll ask them like one-on-one. Like basics.
From our audience, do we have any questions?
I have one for you.
For
How do
me?
you decide to put all these wonderful artists together? They're all different, but it all pulls together. And I think because it's in a house, I'm going in the kitchen, I'm going in the living room, I'm going upstairs, and it's very powerful, and everything is so different. All the artists have different voices, but it all comes together as I walk through the house.
Well, for one, thank you. For two, I planned this show about a year ago, and May is my year anniversary, so this is my 1 year with Detroit Contemporary. Thank you. And we were working on the exhibition schedule for this current season, and it started with Donita, and I was like, I don't want just Donita, I want lots of portraiture. And so I was like, who else can I find? And immediately I was like, Jeff, Shekenia, and Zyaire and Christopher. These two primarily because y'all are still emerging, but I find strength in your work. I think that there is power behind what you do.
Very much.
Whereas for you guys, I mean, really for all of you, very community-centered for one, and for two, your work is amazing. Like, I wouldn't choose it if it weren't. And I think that it speaks not only to themselves, but outward to the community. I don't even think that you need to know these people to be able to take something from the image. Like, some of the elder artists that are in Donita's photos, some have since passed, or I've yet to meet them until the reception that brought like a lot of old cast corridor artists back together. And I was like walking through, and I could hear people be like, I haven't seen you in 10 years, which to me was so rewarding to hear that this exhibition brought those people together. So I hope that answers your question.
It did, yeah. There's people use like photography, there's an art exhibit that's art, isn't it?
I know,
And
I
I
feel
tell
like it's
everybody, come here, come over
See for
here,
yourself.
yeah.
this is why I love you, Bri. Thank you.
That's my best friend.
Do you have any other questions? Yes.
First camera, first lens.
Somebody else can go first.
First,
camera,
the
first
question
lens.
was first camera,
Can I
first
just
lens.
respond to that? And this is gonna be, I'm not a photographer, so the answer is simply whatever worked at the time. It's not about the camera or the lens. It's really about how you respond to the equipment to make your work. That's my opinion. There are gonna be other photographers that'll say, Nikon D50, 55 millimeter. But really, it's kind of like the saying is, whatever camera you have is your best camera. Because frankly, if I had this camera 10 years ago, God knows what I'd be doing.
It's not, I don't think it's necessarily equipment that matters, it's the approach that you take to it.
But I think what she just said is just literally what I just said, so yeah.
Yeah, Smart Alex.
It's this and this.
Yeah.
But, if you want to talk equipment, certainly I can talk equipment, and maybe we all of us could, but really it's just about what you're bringing to it as an artist, as a person. So that's my response.
Yeah, I had to answer your question, I had a Canon. I don't remember which lens, it was a hand-me-down from my brother. And then I also had a Polaroid, and I used Fujifilm, which is obsolete.
I mean, I started with film. I will tell you one thing, nothing is better than learning photography than learning film. Even though I hated it, back in the 80s, I hated film, hated it. just as much as I hated LPs that always, you bought it and they always skipped. Whole different thing. But if you learn film, you're gonna know your photography visually.
I don't remember the model, but it was a Nikon. But it was like a point and shoot, but it looked like a little mini DSLR. So the lens didn't come out, it was attached to it, but it like zoomed all the way out. Like, yeah. My mom bought it and I took it everywhere with me. So, yeah, it was like this little point and shoot camera.
I think I had a hand-me-down from my dad, but it was a 75 to 300 lens, so I don't know what I was doing with that, but I was having a good time.
That's a showstopper right there, 75 to 300.
Yeah, living it up.
What's the favorite thing or most favorite that you've ever photographed? Like, has been your most favorite?
I think I have a shoot coming up with my mom and my grandma to put in the series, so I know that will be one of my favorite shoots.
I agree. I got a shoot with my mama coming up. She want to do one for her birthday, and she's so excited. I'm like, go ahead.
Let's
Get
do
creative, Mom. She's like, I want to go here, I want to look like this, and I'm like, whatever you want to do, baby, let's do it.
Locked in.
Exactly. We ain't been shy yet. It's already my favorite.
Cleety Taylor photograph that's upstairs. I hope my photographs will show the kind of person they are in some cases, even though some photographers, like William Eggleston, talks making portraitures like photographing a parking lot, which is so confusing to me, but he has said that. But for that shot of Cleety Taylor, Dr. Cleety Taylor, and she is one of, this is what I mean by the history. She is one of the progenitors of so much art that has happened in Detroit. And her love and her passion is shown in that photograph. And for that one, I was blessed to be able to make that, as I said, magic.
I think my favorite is probably of my mother. The end result is probably of my mom. So I like my, photograph my parents, especially at this stage in the game.
Mom and moms. Shout out to the moms.
This is my sense of humor. My mom's dead, so enjoy yourself.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yes.
My question is for each of you, sort of, what is your why? What makes you do what you do?
So for me, I feel like, were you about to
No,
ask?
she would tell me that you
Press the gas first.
For me, it feels like utopia. So it's a natural high, and it's co-creating with God. I pray before I shoot, and I enjoy getting glimpses of people that sometimes you wouldn't ordinarily get with just a basic conversation, or if they weren't in your presence at the time. So being able to connect with them and get things out of them that they don't necessarily share with everybody all the time.
I agree with everything she just said. I love it. I love people. I love art. And I love the challenge.
I third that. but also it's kind of, I feel like it's my superpower sometimes, because like I just turn it on and like, natural high, I get creative, I get my element, and then like being able to talk to people about why I created and why I shot the way I did, it's just like, it's easy for me and I like to do it. So like, I was super nervous for the opening, but for this I was like, oh my God, I can't wait. Yeah. But yeah.
Okay. I'll fourth. And I will say I mainly capture Black women. So I love to capture the girls. I love to get them on pictures. I love to get them in scenes. I love to get them in pose. I just love capturing Black women. It's something about it that, I don't know, it's like, wow, I get to take a picture of you and really put you out on the spotlight. And it's fun. And also, people usually don't believe me. I am actually so uncomfortable with photography. I'm nervous every shoot. I'm always worried, like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna, how do? I'm in my head. So when I actually do it, I let it go. And I just found out a way like to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. And like, I love it. I really, truly, really love just making something from an idea to really like posting it up, or it's in somebody's house, or it's in an album, or they're like, oh my gosh, she took pictures for my birthday, let me show everybody. And they're like, wow, these are cute. It makes people happy, it makes me happy, and I like art. Yeah, it's cool. It's like, wow, I did this.
Small caveat, Darren is a wonderful journalist. He's the one who just asked the question.
Thank you. Yeah.
To photographers, who do you look up to? Like, who's your favorite photographer? Or somebody you took interest in?
I love Gordon Parks. I love Gordon Parks. I like Andy Woods. I like Carrie Wings. I like her.
Love her.
Yeah.
One of my favorite artists, for sure.
Jamil, I love your work. I love Look at this man's work, Jamil Brown.
I promise you that wasn't the spotlight.
I'm looking everywhere, and I love your work, but there's so many. I mean, I mentioned Eggleston. If you know his work, I mean, it's confusing as hell. I mean, it's the art that doesn't have all the answers that makes you think. So, but yeah, I mean, everyone mentioned it. I mean, anyone that's done portraiture. I mean, I've looked at Irving Penn. Do you remember him? From Life magazine in the 50s. There's a gentleman that did that. I'm forgetting his name. The portrait of Dolly. Does anyone remember that portrait of Dolly? With the cats. It's like there's a cat jumping across, and Dolly's jumping up, and so there are all these amazing artists that deal with portraiture that you take it in and you say, how can I make it my own? So,
Okay, my all-time favorite is Carrie Wings, but also I've had the pleasure to meet like Brian Day. He's really cool. He's one person that I really look up to. And also my college professor from CCS, Carlos Diaz, who was like the first professor to ever fry my photography. But had he not done that, I would not be in this spot. So shout out to Carlos Diaz.
Did you say fried?
Yeah, he roasted me one time. And it was exactly what I needed.
A living experience, if you will.
It really was. It really, I said, damn.
A lot of my friends are photographers, and I don't have a specific, oh my gosh, I love your work. I think being around different people has inspired my work, to like find my own. But I do have a very close friend who is also helping me learn different photography and different styles. It's actually Jamil.
I know.
Yeah. So really, because I'm a wedding photographer, I've only been doing photography for about 2 years.
You're the next show.
Yeah.
So really learning, going to different museums, really getting into
Investigating.
Yeah. So now, because I'm really getting into it now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Amen for
Yeah.
research.
Google.
Yes.
So I'm curious if you have a next or a dream that you want to, either someone or even something that you want to photograph. You don't have to tell us what it is, but tell me the why you want to do it. What are you looking for?
Okay. I think I'll take this one. Like I said earlier, I really want to get into creative direction. I want to get into creative direction with musicians, so artists and I'm really into music. Do I think I can make it? Absolutely not. But I know how it should look visually since it's so audio. I would love to capture Erykah Badu or Nas or somebody that's really heavily influenced, but everybody hears it but they don't see it. So to really put something together and either if it's myself or another photographer, because I truly believe different eyes see different things, so it doesn't always have to be me. But to put together a vision and really see it, will be like a dream. Like to have something on like a cover of like Complex, and it's like, wow, I put that together. Because I think I'm at the point where I want to put it together now. Like I've put this whole series together, and I have other series coming up, but I like the putting it together and like what inspires it, or what puts like the creative part and the directing part is really something that I'm really starting to like.
Okay, this was a high school dream of mine, but I still want to do it. I still want to shoot for GQ magazine one day, because that's where it all started. Exactly. I want to shoot for them, but also I want to be man of the year. So it's some things going on. But I'll figure it out. I shot myself. But also, I want to do that, and I want to be a gallerist. Like, I want to continue my career as an artist. I mean, I want to push myself and continue to do like the conceptual work that I've been doing. And I kind of been digging really deep into like me as a person and how I can express my human experience and try to relate to other people. So I want to dig deeper into that. But besides that, I want to be a gallerist and, you know, help other artists, you know, pursue a career.
I'm living the dream. You know, I've lived, I mean, I'm 57. I was a former art director. I've worked for JCPenney. Feel like I break into it. I've seen fire and I've seen rain.
Keep going. We'll get somebody on the
That's as far as we
piano.
get. Hey, did I mention I want to be a musician now? No, I'm just so happy to be what I'm doing what I'm doing now, and I'm very blessed.
That's great.
For me, it's photographing the Great Migration, Serengeti, every aspect, especially elephants. So.
Any final questions?
Can I come with you?
That's a good question.
I'll assist, I'll jump in, whatever.
So we're going to Paris, we'll just prepare more.
Hey, right. See my work now before
Can we have a
I
lot for our galleries